Well, it's hugely important because the Democratic Unionists, who are the largest party in the unionist tradition in Northern Ireland, effectively could make the Prime Minister's life difficult. Interestingly, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, who's the leader of the party, has been in the UK media this morning not saying no. So he's not ruling this out. He's saying, and the party is saying, they need to read more about the detail, get their lawyers to look at it, how these various locks and controls work. But from Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister's point of view, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson not saying no is progress, and you know it gives him, the Prime Minister in the UK, grounds for optimism.
Let's look at the Prime Minister then, because this is an important political win for himself, but is it big enough that will actually change the polls?
Well, the polls in the UK have been showing the Conservative Party, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister's party, way behind the opposition Labour Party. But against that backdrop, this is seen, and if you look at the UK press this morning, it's terribly enthusiastic. It sees this as good for Rishi Sunak, good for the government, breaking a logjam. And against that backdrop, it could change the mood music and give the Conservatives a chance in the next election that hitherto I just don't think they thought they had.
And in terms of the future of Rishi Sunak as well, even if he does not win the next general election, does this agreement actually mean that he will be able to remain as the leader of the Conservative Party, or do you think a change there is inevitable?
I think if the Conservatives were to lose the general election, chances are Rishi Sunak wouldn't stay on. I mean, the Conservative Party in the UK is incredibly quick at getting rid of leaders it thinks that either can't or haven't won. Having said that, I think from his own personal point of view and from the country's point of view, what he's demonstrated with this agreement or this potential framework is that sort of UK politics has moved back onto a sort of more moderate, normal path. Indeed, both the leader of the government and the opposition are mainstream, moderate politicians. So it's a sort of signal about the way UK politics is progressing. But, you know, the next election's still a year or so away, and I think it just opens a slight chance for the Conservatives that they had, you know, begun to write off.
When we step back, though, the biggest question that people have at this stage is this the end of us talking about Brexit? Are we finally able to put this issue to bed?
Well, I mean, to use a cliche, Brexit is it's a process and not an event. So I don't think this will put an end to Brexit. What it does is to create a platform for the UK and the EU to create a more rational relationship. It'll be an iterative, shifting thing over time, but it definitely removes many of the blockages, and actually it will help within the UK as well, because it will mean that things like the Horizon science programme can now be sorted out. The Americans are likely, and Joe Biden's likely to like this. He said he didn't like the alternative proposition. So I think in terms of the UK moving on from the beginning of the Brexit process, yes. Is it the end of Brexit? No, Brexit will still rumble on.